The domination out here after the last Forbidden and Limited list has definitely been something beautiful to see. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. So we've been following the OCG and the breakdowns of their meta has actually been developing out here and showcasing these rapid changes they've been going through up here. Now in your S tier, you still are following the same thing that we've been seeing out here. You know, you have Tenpai and you have something Fiendsmith oriented just driving the show. And also, you know, with the field spell limited to 1 out here for Tenpai, this deck is still a reckoning force to be seeing in the meta. Like, that's actually kind of crazy to think about, that you are still seeing this level of domination with this. And then you have Rescue Ace and Yubel up here driving the show with the rest of the Fiendsmith stuff. I'm not that surprised to see that, but honestly, I think you should be, though. Like, it just kind of proves how reliable the Fiendsmith package has power crept things. And then in A tier is Snake Eyes and Fire Kings. Wow, both of those decks have been like the dominating force for so long. To see them actually get bumped down a tier, though, and see a little bit of a rewind is so crazy to be thinking about out here. Now B tier, Memento has been, I think, the poster child for this down here, considering the fact the deck has such an incredibly high ceiling, and then you're sitting here and you're like, oh, okay, you know, we're just kind of see what we can do here. We have the Chimera Fiendsmith deck. I'm still intrigued to see how that works, but that's a lot of money to be pumping into a roguish deck. And then, of course, we do have Voiceless Voice actually kind of moving up the tier here. And congratulations to Voiceless getting some recognition. You still have the Melodious deck still kind of sitting here and doing its thing. Infernoid, hey, if you have grass at 2, you can do anything with Infernoid, right? You just need a good random RNG spill of things, and you can kind of get the job done. You know what I mean? Also, the White Forest with the Centurion deck, that's been an interesting hybrid to see, but the OCG has absolutely loved that package. The fact that you were able to meld these cards together and get that synergy rolling has been very good to see. We also do have Runic still sticking around with Fallon at 1. Thunder Dragon Colossus actually getting bumped up the pedestal out here is actually kind of given this deck a new interesting take on life. And then, of course, Ritual Beast is actually kind of returned back to the fray. I genuinely did not expect to see that, but you know what? I'll take that. And then we have Block Dragon and friends resurfacing. That's right. Little blocky lad down here has got a new little tech choice this week that has kind of turned heads a little bit. Overall, the state of the OCG meta, I mean, this is not everything. I mean, there are other decks that will show up, obviously. You know, the rogue section is always going to be a strong thing out here. There'll be so many differentiations of decks that you can mess around with. That's actually, I think, the thing that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! So fun. Let's pass on over to some of that spice. So starting off out here is Tenpai with double Raigeki, 1 field spell. They basically just included a lot more hand traps / board breakers into the equation out here to push this board break kind of agenda. And I do see we are playing a break sword in here too. Okay, we've definitely come a long way. And also, this build is now playing Threatening Roars in case you're running into the mirror match of all things. Like, okay, that's very interesting that we're scared of our own variant of the deck, but okay. Next up is Rescue Ace, good stuff. I do see this build is adapting towards board breakers out here, where you do see those Dark Rule and No Mores actually being relevant, those droplets as well. And all this deck has to do is just board break, and it can get the chance to advance into the next stage of the game. I mean, the fact you're citing the field spell for the regeneration of the value is kind of a little bit disappointing now. It was kind of cool to see you could use those resources to generate that huge advantage tree, but that's not the case anymore with this. Yubel, yes, the 1/1 line with the 2 spirits now. How this deck has actually just stripped off so much of the fat. Of course, he's still making the Whip King Kaiser or the Beatrice. It depends on which method of play that you need. I do see that they are citing the Unchained Trap card down there instead of actually main decking it. That's actually kind of wild that they've actually foregone actually wanting to see that combo piece. Interesting stuff for the top end of your meta here. Now, We do have more Diabell Star, Snake Fiend, good stuff. Yeah, the whole Fiendsmith combo in this deck is just so gosh darn absurd. And also, you know, the fact that all of these packages just feed on into each other is so crazy. Still using Beatrice as a dump method if you need to get things going, but Apollosa is the main centerpiece for the toxicity that actually has to come from this deck. So I guess good stuff. I do expect more results. Fire Kings! This is actually... So you're still doing the full package here, but actually you're adapting Unkalonix into the deck here. Unkalonix actually being that missing Fire King monster that just gives you so much consistency. Like, congratulations to a manga promo changing the landscape for how a deck functions. Like, this is so cool to actually see. Next up here we have Memento. Talk about just the toolbox of toolboxes out here. I do see that the new Shonen Jump, or the Shueisha promo weekly jump card, has found a way into this deck. That card has been getting a lot more mileage than I actually initially expected to see. I definitely thought a lot more people would just kind of toss it to the side. We'd kind of call it a day, but no. Chronozo has just found its way into so many decks out here as a missing piece. Good stuff. We also have, oh boy, yes, the Fiendsmith and the Barrier statue. With the Diablaze actually being sighted down there. I also see that this build is playing the artifact package in here. Imagine if we still had the artifact package present in the course of our meta. The little extra advantage that little package would actually give you is very horrifying to think about in terms of the consistency across the table. Yikeroos, that's for sure. All right, we also have Saravis and friends out here. Voiceless Voice still being a contender in the meta. They're doing a 2 Skull Guardian, 2 Saravis. I actually think that that's pretty okay. You also do get the chance to see Dynamondo in here, kind of shaping up to be that fantastic card. Still getting the chance to play the 1 Summon Limit in here. I love to see it, man. I really wish we had 1 Summon Limit in the course of the TCG to actually mess around the things that we could do. But you know what? I'll take it for what it's actually worth. Next up here we do have, a little bit of love for the whole little pendulum deck. You have the Ostinato package in here that gives you this little extra turbo stuff to kind of go through the thing. And then, of course, Electromite being that card that holds this entire deck together is so beautiful to actually see. Congratulations to still seeing this deck actually doing its thing. I like this a lot. I really wish the TCG would get the chance to mess around with the very end of this, but it's not going to happen. Woo! 60 card Noids. So the things that you need to know about Noids: just activate grass, win the game. It's that easy, that self-explanatory, and man, I bet you feel like an absolute Chad when this deck rolls out here. Also playing double transaction rollback for the Mayakashi trap card. That way you can high roll your opponent. I also see we are playing the Duke down there in the side deck. So yes, our little zombie friend actually is getting some value. Next up here, we have the Centurion White Forest deck, basically being able to feed off of your spells and traps, get those free little bodies on the field. That way you can start doing Synchro Summon plays. And the fact that most of those Synchros that you're going to be able to generate into are essentially free generic stuff. Like, I didn't expect this deck to have the level of expected synergy that it does, but it actually does have a payout at the end of the day. And I think that's actually kind of cool to see. So imagine if they still had, you know, the big old negate. Oh, hey, Runic, how are you? So Organism has moved on into the main deck as a 2 of, which I think is fine. You do see double dimensional fissure in here. So we've adapted towards more of an anti-meta style of deck, which I think is fine. You got to remember this deck needs as much generation of advantage as it can actually get. You want to make sure that you can find all of this good value so that you can kind of start, you know, down the info tree, getting that advantage and so forth. Also wish we had 3 card demise so we could play this. Thunder Dragons. Man, you know, you're not playing 3 Colossus. You're sticking to the 2 out here. 2 Colossus is usually going to be enough to get the game done. You know, go like this and call it a day. Like, good enough to me. I will say though, if you want to mess around with a good pile of cards, give this a shot. I think that there is something to be had with this deck in terms of its engine, and you know, something fun. I know, fun in the word Yu-Gi-Oh! Ritual Beast. Oh boy, double dimension shifters is the first thing I see here. You gotta love to see actually having to main deck that card. I do see that we do have the double book in here as well for defensive options. And of course, we're side decking. I see some Change of Hearts and good stuff down here along the way as well to kind of help us out. Okay, and Judgments, all the little trap good stuff that you're kind of used to seeing out here. I think will get the job done for you. Just, you got to decide which method of madness that's going to be the best for you in order to kind of carry this deck together. And our last list here is going to be our... we're actually playing the Protector of the Sanctuary in here. So I guess we've reached the point. The Protector of the Sanctuary is a hard carry for this deck. I did not expect to see Protector showing up, but I mean, hey, if you're doing all these rock combos, you know, with Redox on the back end of things, maybe it's worth considering, you know what I mean? So what do you guys think about all of these interesting decks this week? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.